Hey guys, Mustached Tom here to review the movie Anaconda. Obviously this is a quote-unquote reboot of Anaconda, the big Snick movie. So I've seen the trailer for this a few times, and I'll be reviewing it as objectively as possible. So this is the meta, film within a film type-esque movie. And Jack Black is playing some of his previous roles rolled up into one, that being the once marriage counselor sales guy, right from the Minecraft movie, in combination with the film-obsessed guy, which that's what he was in Kong Skull Island. This time he's Doug. So Doug takes Paul Rudd's character Griff, a quote-unquote failed actor, who is supposed to be who's doing these doctor takes, doing an accent, then overdoing what needed to be done, apparently, I guess, in accordance with what the director was asking for. And still not good enough. So he goes to Doug during his birthday. So he claims that he has the rights to Anaconda the movie. So, big meta, I guess, because the movie that we are watching is literally, Anaconda, so it very is another Jack Black type-esque movie, that being Tropic Thunder, without as much as the comic relief part of that movie. Though I think they try to do some comical bits, though I don't think a lot of them, quite frankly, land, if I'm being quite honest. And I think that the failure comes from the lack of balance between the comedy and the horror, because it is still an Anaconda movie at the end of the day. But none of our characters ever feel at risk. I mean, we see from the trailer the whole Jack Black get taken and spit back out and used as a prop. That is in the trailer, so there is no risk of that being his death point in the movie. In fact, I'll just, I guess, quote-unquote, spoil it now. Nobody in the main cast dies. All the deaths are reserved for their, other baddies that get revered in the movie, or good guys, I guess, if you consider the context. The movie does begin with this lady and with this other guy, and you think that they're the good guys, and when she comes back, you think she's the good guy, and then she ends up being a thief. Yada yada yada. So the guys that were chasing her were actually police, apparently. So we do, again, see the Snick take out some bad guys from time to time. All the while, their film gets interrupted when Griff kills the handled snake that they had, which is also in the trailer, by the way. So the trailer kind of reveals a lot, though the bits it doesn't spoil, or didn't spoil from my memory, are actually quite small, but I guess, also the big reveals at the same time simultaneously, which is a bizarre statement to say side by side, but it is true. So obviously, him and the snake handler guy go to try to find a new snake. Griff backs out. And he finds the boat from the original Anaconda movie in ruin, I believe it is. And this is where Anna, the lady that they find, does her shift into being a true bad guy. But Griff finds a gun, but he still suspects that the guy is the killer and then shoots who ends up being an officer. But don't worry, the snake will, as I mentioned, kill Anna. They do this whole bit where they need to piss on Doug to, like, fix his bite wound or whatever. And that bit goes on for way too long. They really thought this was funny, I guess. Piss! It's really funny. And it goes on for a long while. But hey, as I said, after they meander about for a bit, they end up finding, dun da da da, big spoiler alert, Ice Cube from the original Anaconda. I guess he's just playing himself here, I think, because the meta humor of it, he's like, oh, you know, I was recording with the actual actresses and actors, I'm here to go find them, blah blah blah. So they then want to lure the actual snake into the pyro area. They do so, and it doesn't quite get the job done, but Griff, like in the beginning of the opening little movie that they recorded when they were kids, takes out his gun, moves forward, and ends up shooting like a barrel that the snake is like near, and then causes it to explode. It ends up in chunks. Then we cut to some time ahead, and just like Tropic Thunder, they utilize the movie and show it off. This is where Angelina Jolie shows up, saying like how he didn't have the rights, but how she still wants him to go ahead and direct the next true Anaconda movie. And that was Anaconda. There is not a lot that happens in this movie in terms of, like, again. So, yeah, the two big issues stemming from this movie is, one, the horror is, you know, purposely designed to just be captured around the surrounding people. It doesn't seem to inherit the main cast, and that's something that I felt I heavily recall the original Anaconda movie doing. You know, it was all about survival for the last remaining characters. I think there was only, like, they started off with like a similar sized cast, and then they ended up with like 3 people. And maybe even slightly better, I don't remember. Point being is that there is no risk in that regard, so the horror aspect is gate-kept to a certain section, and the comedy is extremely weak. There's just no bite to it, which, you know, coming from a snake, it's very shrug-worthy. So there wasn't really much to say on this movie. It's really bad. So yeah. In terms of a score, this is like a 3 out of 10. You know, and none of the other stuff really helps it out beyond that. So that's where we are at the end of this review. But hey, if you ended up enjoying said review, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also make sure to check out those links in the description. One related to my petition about small YouTubers, second to my PayPal, where you can help support me and my channel directly, and third to my Discord server. You can join, collab, shield, all that cool stuff for free. And until next time everyone, bye bye.